Hey guys, Teresa here. Welcome back to my channel, Lost My Thread. I am back again with another collaboration video with Sarah from So Sarah Sewed for our update for our Standing Tall Quilt Along. Welcome back, Sarah. It is so nice to have you on the channel again.
I'm so excited to be back, especially for this one because we actually have our finished quilt tops today.
We do. So anybody who has not been following along these videos, this is our third video in the series where we've been talking about the sew along that we're doing for the Standing Tall Quilt by Cedar Quilt Co. I will put a link up in the top corner of the screen down the description box to the playlist if you want to watch the previous videos. We've been taking turns across our two channels to give updates. And yes, today we have finished quilt top, so it definitely feels like an exciting one. Sarah, do you want to tell me how you found the process of finishing off the quilt tops? I think the last time we checked in, we'd done our 4-piece blocks, if I'm right.
I think we just started. Yes. We were just at the start of that week, I think. So it's been really fun. I loved putting those 4-patch squares together because all of a sudden you started to see how the fabrics would play together. So that was really, really fun. That was a little bit time consuming, but because we'd split it into the 2 weeks, I found it quite manageable actually. And yeah, I just loved seeing the way they came together. And then the following week we started putting the sashing in, and that, for me, I think that was probably my favorite step because seeing them play with I chose a white sashing for mine, or white background fabric. I thought that really changed the way the fabric, the prints looked. So for me, I was using very, very pastel-y floral prints mainly. I used the Pie in the Sky collection from Tilda, so very pretty kind of
Delightful.
fabrics. Yeah. And then putting that white in, for me, I felt it just lightened everything. It really just brightened everything. And I just loved the way that looked. And then the following week, we then had to put the rows together. And this bit was the most... it was just, they were just big, big rows to put together. So this was, it wasn't so much time consuming for me, but just a little bit more difficult to manage the big pieces. How about you? How did you find it?
Yeah, so I think when this video comes out, we've basically just gotten to the stage where we're asking people to do those, kind of bring those rows together. And yeah, I will say I completely agree. It was so delightful when you put those 4-piece blocks together and then you flip them over and you see them all connected. You see those colors playing against each other. That was really cool. But yes, definitely when you bring those little extra columns in between, and it was like an unbleached cotton color, so like a off-white color. And it definitely did really it brightens those colors, it lightens those colors, it brings the whole thing to life. And I feel like at that stage, you can start to see the vision that you've got for your quilt. So you can see the idea of how it's all going to become one thing. And then, yeah, I definitely agree doing the bits where you're joining those two together, which is what people are going to start doing now. The main thing for me is that was the only place that I pinned. Are you a pinner? Have you been pinning?
I pinned everything, even my 4 patches.
Okay, I did not.
So
not at all.
I've seen a lot of people, when I've seen other people sharing, other people are just, chain piecing and just putting them straight in. But I pin everything.
Yeah, I mean, I pin mostly for garments. I know there are a lot of people who don't even bother pinning with a lot of garments. And I will say it's rare that I don't pin with garments. I have to have like a super stable cotton and really like easy to follow lines. And that's what this is. It's like, it's cotton, it's not shifty. I'm doing literally straight lines. So I did not bother pinning with the vast majority of this. I just adjusted as I went, and I would like pause and use my hands to get everything in line and then keep going. But when I was doing those bits where I was basically connecting these rows that I've done, I wanted to make sure that everything was lining up properly. So those bits I did pin, and it was quite awkward. Like you said, especially when you've got these like basically a whole half of a quilt you're folding in half and then trying to pin it in place and then put it through the machine. It basically made me feel like, yeah, okay, actually we're getting there. Like, this is a real quilt. This is reminding me of what I have ahead when I need to actually do the quilting and wrangle this through the machine.
That is going to be hard. I actually found, excuse me, because of those rows of the background in between the 4-patch squares, I actually found that quite hard to line up because when you're doing the 4-patch, you can see exactly where you need that seam to be. But I found it was really hard to see if you were actually getting them in line. Did you find that as well?
I did. And what I found, because I've got my like background colors is a cream color, I was basically holding it up to the light, to the window, to be able to basically feel and eyeball trying to get them to be like connected, if that makes sense. I feel like it's hard to describe if you haven't done it, but you've done it, you probably can understand what I'm trying to say. And occasionally I would kind of peel back the top layer of fabric to check, okay, are we lined up further down, right? Because we're not lining it up at the same place we're pinning. It has to be lined up further below where the previous row connects. So yeah, I was definitely using the light to help me kind of glance through the fabrics, the lighter colored fabric, to help me line it up. In fairness, like, I don't know how much it would make a difference if it was a slight bit off. I just didn't want them all to be a little bit off, a little bit off. But I feel like doing that, I managed to get it pretty neat.
I had my first 2 rows together, and then so I did my first 2 rows, and because I'm doing the second biggest, so 4 rows altogether. My first 2 rows were sewn together pretty well. My next 2 rows were sewn pretty well, and then when I put them together, somehow it went off, and I opened it up and I thought I was finished, and it was all.
Oh, did you have to
one
unpick?
half of it was quite well. Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Oh no.
Because I just didn't want it to have. Yeah, I think part of the beauty of the quilt is that sort of just those columns, those beautiful lines.
I know.
And I thought when I was quilting it, if I'm going to do straight line quilting, I want it to be straight. So
100%. Yeah.
yeah. So that was pretty annoying.
The one thing that drove me crazy, honestly, with this, in my head, what I really should have done if I was going to be good and I was going to be organized is I should have been making marks. I should have used some washi tape, put some little like tags on these different blocks to make sure everything was going to be in the right orientation. They were all going to stay the way I originally laid them out. And as much as I was trying consciously to be like, okay, I'm sewing these columns together and this is the orientation. It's this way up. I'm going to remember, I'm going to fold it so this will be on the top, and I know this is row 1 and it's like this, and then I'm going to do it with row 2. Once I went to go put them together, I laid them out because I was pinning them. I wanted to make sure that I didn't have colors like right next to each other, which is really all I was aiming for. I want it to look random. And I don't know what happened, but at some point I had to like flip everything upside down, line it up, and then things were the wrong way. I had to lay it all out on the bed so that I could try and like reorganize, because I knew that these were going to work, that they weren't going to be like matching colors next to each other because I had put them together that way. But somehow all of my rows got mixed up, flipped around, and it took me, I want to say like half an hour to try and figure out how they're supposed to go together. It was wild. And the other thing I will say, and you probably find the same with the pre-cuts, with the jelly roll strips, because they're pinked at the edge, there's these tiny little fibers that come flying off. And because my fabrics are quite colorful, I felt like I had this like confetti or like sprinkles all over my house. So my bed, they were everywhere. My sewing machine, they were everywhere. When I was pressing especially, bits were coming off. And I have a bag that was like was a kind of to the side of my ironing board, and clearly it was too close to the ironing board. My navy blue corduroy bag got just covered in these little speckles of colorful little bits. I mean, it looked very festive and very fun and very pretty, but I used so many sheets of lint roller to try and get off all those little bits. Was it messy for you, or was that just me?
Mainly the cutting, actually. It's not something I noticed during the sewing, but when you mentioned that pinked edge, I found it difficult, especially because I had some of those, and then I also had like my background fabric, for example, I had cut myself with the rotary cutter. I didn't know, and maybe this is part of why it didn't quite line up. I didn't know whether I was lining up my 1/4 inch with the outside of the little pinked edge or the inside.
Yeah.
And probably I did a bit of a mixture, and I never checked. Maybe I should have checked and trimmed before I started putting all the rows together, because they're probably all just slightly different. I don't know.
Oh, you can't trim that. You'd never finish if you were trimming them. But I do feel like now that you're saying that, it's true. Like, I assumed we're lining up with the outer section of the pink of the zigzag, but I could be wrong.
Yeah,
I didn't actually take it.
I never measured.
No.
Yeah.
That's really funny. But yeah, we got there, right? We got there. And yeah, I will say it was definitely quite a wrangling then, because I've got 5 rows to bring together. So I I basically did like the top two, the bottom two, and then the middle one I connected to one and then the other is the way that I kind of joined them together. But I will say, like, as much as it was messing my brain around and I got things twisted and rotated, when I finished and I gave it all a good press, it looked so amazing. It made me so happy to see it all come together. And I cannot wait to have this as a finished quilt. I am dying to get to that stage.
The pressing was actually one of the hardest things as well. When it's that big, that was really challenging to just getting it over the ironing board for me. And so I did it, especially on the outsides where the seams were, but in the middle, I'm not sure. It's looking pretty flat though.
I mean, I tried, but then even now I've folded it up and I'm sure it's not going to be as completely flat as it could be. But no, it is fairly impossible really to get that completely flat. There probably is some tip. I mean, would you press as you're putting together your sandwich, like over the top of the quilt batting?
I will be, yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I never even thought of doing it that way. That's actually a really clever way to do it because you basically created like a giant ironing board. When you're laying it down like on the batting, you can use that as like the thing to press over the top of. So I think I'm going to have to do it. Yeah, I mean that is something that I'm definitely a bit nervous about. So I did say to you before, I was a bit concerned about the size of this quilt and whether or not I would be able to lay all my pieces out when I want to put my quilt sandwich together. And I can tell you now, there is no way, absolutely no way I have space to lay this whole thing out. We got new furniture in our living room, which is wonderful, but it won't move around it's quite bulky and there's just no space for me to lay this out. But I can do it half and half. And I remember you sent me a video, didn't you? And I'll pop a link down below as well to it, where somebody was showing how to do a quilt sandwich basically with limited space and doing it in like sections. I think I can do half at a time. So I think that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, the video was by Joz Makes Quilts she's in Melbourne, where I am, and she does hers on a table, which I think is also great if you're worried about, lots of people find that whole process very hard on their backs as well. So if you're using a table, that could make that more comfortable as well. But yeah, she does half the quilt, depending on the size, I suppose, half the quilt, then bastes that, and she does a spray baste and then does the whole thing, and then I can't remember exactly, but yeah, we'll link it.
Now, talking about basting, so should we chat a little bit about our plans for putting this quilt sandwich together and what you're going to do for the basting?
Yeah, sure. So I'm going to use the spray just like Joz does because I've used it before and I find it really, really easy. I've done pins before and I just find that so tricky trying to get a flat back, but just using spray, I can just keep sort of flattening it out with my hands and then with an iron as well. So I bought a great big roll of bamboo batting a couple of months ago when it was on sale at Spotlight. I just thought I'm going to need this, so I'll buy it now. So I've got that ready. And then I've got my backing now as well. My back, yeah.
Ooh, can you share?
I just picked it up this morning. So I decided to use a pre-made, just a sheet. So I've gone with a flannelette sheet. I went to my local homeware store the other day and I was looking at flannelette sheets on sale, and I ended up finding one, and I haven't even looked at these together yet. I literally just brought it home from the shops today and I haven't opened up my quilt, so I'm just hoping. I had my picture of a quilt and I was sort of holding it up towards the different sheets. But I had to look at the dimensions. I was looking up how big the quilt is and then looking at the dimensions on the sheet packet. But I'm hoping that the double top sheet will be big enough. It should be. And I got this. Matches my outfit today.
Doesn't it? That is such a great choice. I love it. So it's not a solid, but it's not like a busy print, is it? Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah, I hope it works really well. And I'm looking forward to the fact that I don't have to piece anything. It'll just be straight on. And then I thought, well, then I'll also, it's a double size though. I don't have a double bed, but it does have 2 pillows. So I can use the pillows and have them as a kind of a matching little set on my bed as well. So.
Oh, that is such an adorable addition. I love that. Oh, how nice.
I was thinking also, I don't know about you, but I've got a few scraps. Just those, they're tiny, but those little cut-offs from cutting off the jelly roll, and I thought maybe one day I'll patchwork, like some pillow covers as well, maybe. So I might end up using there's a bit of like, there's comes in like a bag, like an outside carry
Yeah.
thing. So even using that, maybe one day, we'll see.
So that's, I will say, because I got two like packs of jelly rolls for mine because I'm making the bigger quilt, and I actually have some of the jelly roll strips left over. And I did debate that, but the only thing for me is I don't know if it would be nice to sleep with all those seams on the pillow. Do you know what I mean? Like,
For me, it would be just decorative, I
yeah.
think.
I'm considering, I'll have to look and see which ones I've got left over. I'm considering whether I make like cushions for the living room possibly because the colors might work. I need to have a think, but I do want to use those leftovers. So as
Yeah.
far as my quilt sandwich and all that, I feel like I should explain for people who maybe are not experienced quilters. The quilt sandwich is basically when you take your backing fabric that's going to be on the underside of your quilt, and then you put your layer of your batting, your wadding, whatever's going to be in the middle, and then your quilt top on top. So that's your little sandwich. And you have to secure them together somehow, and there are definitely different ways to do it. And Sarah is going to use, it's like basically like a spray glue, isn't it, that you're using?
Yeah, yeah.
And I have used that before, but I wanted to try, there's a method that I saw on Instagram, and again, I'll put a link to that down below, where basically you use washable glue, like school glue, like Americans I would think of like Elmer school glue, and you basically just squidge a whole load of it over the bottom layer, and then you put the batting on top, and then you squidge a whole load over the top, and then you put your quilt sandwich or your quilt top over the top of it. And it does take a few hours to dry, but the good thing about that is it keeps it secure, and then it's washable. So when you put it in the washing machine, it's all going to wash away. I feel like the spray was okay, but for me, I wasn't sure like how much spray to put, and I felt like not everything was as secure as it needed to be, probably because I was overcautious with not wanting to go completely to town. And I did feel like at one point it kind of marked the top of my fabric when I used it before, and
Oh,
I
really?
didn't feel like it completely washed off. So it just made me a bit nervous to use that method. But yeah, so I'm going to be using the glue. So I will report back and tell you guys how that goes. I think it might get messy, so I'll put something underneath as well. But again, it's washable. Whatever it is, it'll wash away.
Are you going to be doing that soon, do you think?
Probably. I need to put my backing together first.
Oh,
So
yeah.
my backing
Yeah.
fabric is going to have to be pieced. So I need to lay all this out and figure out how long those need to be. And then I need to debate, my quilt backing has a pattern on it. Am I going to try and pattern match? Do I have enough of the fabric to pattern match? I'll have to play around with that and make those decisions. But I probably should do it soon, because I think the actual quilting process, it's going to be quite time consuming.
I don't think you should bother doing pattern matching on the back. I don't think it'll be worth it. That seems like way
It's
too
easy
much
for
effort.
you to say though, Sarah. I have to live with this quilt. And if I look at it all the time and it bugs me, I don't know. I think it depends, honestly, when I lay it out, if it seems like it's going to be obvious. But let me show again I'll show you what it looks like again. Hang on.
Yeah.
All right, so I've got these, am I upside down? Yeah. I've got these clouds. Can you see? Yeah. At the very least, they have to match on the horizontal. There's no way I'm not going to have them off. Like that would
Fair
drive
enough.
me completely
Yeah.
nuts. But they do all have like, there's slightly different designs on them. And I don't know if it would, I mean, I suppose they look pretty random. So like some of them are even together. So probably it wouldn't matter as long as they match along. Anyway, I'm going to lay it out and I'm going to
Yeah.
make a decision. But yeah, at the very least, they have to be a straight horizontal. That's like a no, that's no question. But I think it will, yeah, it will depend, honestly, if I even have enough length to do that. And I don't know where the repeat is, so I don't know where I would need to join it up. But yeah, this is when I'm like slightly regretting my choices. I know it'll be worth it. Like it will be worth it once I put it all. It's only 2 seams because it's going to be 3
Okay.
rows. But it does feel like, oh, and that's going to be, yeah, I'm going to pin all that to make sure that at least it matches up
Yeah.
and hope
Yeah.
for the best. It's the bottom of my quilt. So maybe
Yeah.
you're right.
It's mainly going to be, yeah, not seen, honestly.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
It's funny, I've got a quilt on one of my son's beds that I made, and I really don't like the backing at all. And I remember buying it and thinking, I don't really like this fabric, but it was, you know, it was probably cheap and maybe it was just the right width and everything. I didn't have to piece it.
Yeah.
But I never, ever, ever see it. Ever. So, you know, unless
It's
I'm
true.
like changing the bed. So, yeah.
It's
No one else
true.
sees
No,
it.
you are completely right. I think that is the reality. So I won't get too hung up on it.
Yeah. It's nice to know that it's a beautiful backing and it matches and everything, but in terms of being too pedantic.
I know. And can I ask you, when you're doing your quilting over the top, obviously there's many ways, you know, many designs and ways you can do, because this is straight lines. I know you said you're going to do your quilting straight, which I agree. I think I'm just going to go with like a straight, you know, vertical and horizontal. How are you going to decide? Like, have you decided yet how far apart you're going to put your quilting lines?
I was thinking about doing them like where you know, in the ditch and then one in between, I think. I think that will be enough for me.
Is that on the vertical and
Yeah.
the horizontal?
And I'm not
Are you
going
going
to
to do like a
do
square?
horizontal. I'm only going to do vertical.
Can you get away with that? Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay, I feel like you
hope
just
so.
changed my life. Really?
Yeah.
I thought you have to, like, to keep, I have thought you had to have like a closed end, like on both directions.
I haven't in the past.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
amazing. That's
The ones
really
that I've
exciting
done
to
recently,
hear.
that I've done on my machine, I've just done one direction. I think one of them was a diagonal over the whole thing and the other one was just vertical lines, but definitely didn't go through and do it again like a grid.
Okay.
But maybe
'Cause,
I
when
will for this. I don't know. I don't know
Oh,
now.
stop. Don't, that's a lot.
Or maybe even
I
just
feel like-
along the ditch of like I don't know, like not.
Maybe.
Would that look weird?
But
I don't know.
I genuinely feel like you've like given me, you've taken a weight off. Because I was thinking about how much it was going to be. Because different quilt batting it will tell you how far apart the rows can be.
Okay.
In order to maintain like everything staying together. And mine says it only needs to be 8 inches as like a maximum distance between them, which is quite wide. So what I was thinking of doing, because you know we've got these, you know, 4-piece blocks. I was thinking of maybe doing either side. So basically doing along the white columns, either side of the white columns.
Yeah.
And I thought like that should keep it. And then I was thinking of doing I should do, again, like the columns vertical, like horizontal. No, it is vertical. Horizontal lines across the vertical. But now I'm thinking maybe I don't need to do that bit. And maybe it will still be together. So you were literally going to do every single like row?
Every row and in the middle of every row. Because I like the look of being able to see some of the quilting, not just for it to be in the ditch. I like that effect. Yeah.
So you're going to go in the middle of the white columns as well?
I think so.
Okay.
Obviously, I haven't decided, but I think so.
No, I mean,
yeah,
clearly.
I'll keep it just
Interesting.
even, which will be, I think because with the seam allowance, I think that will make it every inch.
2 inch. Yeah.
Vertical line every
you're going
inch.
to do every inch. Yikes. No, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
That feels like so much. I know what you mean though. Like when you can see the quilt lines like more visible, that is a nice detail. I do know what you mean.
Yeah.
I'm clearly still on the fence as well now, because now I'm debating like, do I do any of those horizontal or not? We'll have a think, we'll have a play, and the good thing is we get to share when we finally put it together, and we'll tell everyone what we decided.
And people will probably give us comments on what they think as well, which will be handy. Yeah. So if you know that we should also add some horizontal ones, please tell us.
Or as far as like the space, do you trust what it tells you when it says 8 inches? Like I don't think I would trust an 8-inch square. To me, that seems quite wide. I'd be a bit nervous about it. But again, it depends on the batting. Like mine specifically does say that, so that's where I was getting that from. But yeah, I don't know. I'd be a little more cautious, I think, than that.
And it's also fun, you know, that quilted look. The more the closer together the lines are, you get that effect more, I think, as well. So
fair enough. No, I know what you mean.
But yeah, yours is huge, so
I know. I know. And obviously, like when you try and get it through the machine, that's such a challenge. And when I've done it before, you kind of have to like roll it up to be able to get it into the arm of the machine, which the bigger the quilt is, the trickier that tends to be.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question? This is like a total newbie quilter question, because I've made quilts, but I've made 2 quilts, and I very much just kind of winged it and tried to find some YouTube videos to figure out what I was doing. They always say to start your quilting from the middle of the quilt and work your way out. Do you know what I
Okay.
mean? Are
Yeah.
we saying
Yeah.
literally the center in all directions, or just the middle, the top of the middle and go down and then work your way
Oh,
outward? Do you know what I'm saying? I never feel like I never
yeah. I know what you're
understood.
saying. I know what you're saying. I just go from the top, but I'm not an expert.
Good.
I've made a few in
I
my
know.
time, but like, I definitely do not know very much. I've just, learnt as I've gone. But I have always just gone from the top. Definitely not, because if you start in the middle, then you're going to have threads that you have to then bury. So you want to
Exactly.
have all your ends of your threads at the ends. So then they
Yeah.
just get trimmed and then
Trimmed off.
covered up when you do the binding.
Fine, good.
Yeah.
Please, like quilters who are watching us, if we're going completely off and you're like, please don't do this, tell us in the comments, because genuinely I don't. Like, I've tried to figure out, and people's language is not always very clear. And Sarah, obviously, as much as you've made quilts, I don't want to make you the expert. I 100% appreciate. You're just a
Definitely not.
person who's made quilts. That's fine. That's more than I am. I feel. I mean, I've made a couple, but like,
Yeah.
you're a resident, like, advanced or intermediate. We won't put you at
I've
like
not, but
expert.
look, on in terms of like actual quilting of them, I've only done 3. So before that,
Really?
I was like, I would send them out and get them, done on a long arm, but it just gets so
Oh
expensive. And so I
wow.
thought when I bought my sewing machine, I bought one specifically that had a nice wide throat for that space, and
Nice.
it also came with
Nice.
like a quilter's kind of accessory pack, like the walking foot. It's got an extendable table thing that you can put on, which I've used in the
Yeah.
past as well.
Yeah.
It just lifts everything up, so you're not sort of, because the weight of a quilt is so much. So
Yeah.
it depends on your space. If you don't have a big table, having that extra sort of attachment on the machine can help. But yeah,
I do have that actually, that little attachment that attaches to the side of the machine to make it a bit more lifted and level. And I never really understood the point of it. But now that you're saying it, thinking about how the weight of the quilt can really be dragged down, I'm going to be
yeah.
curious to try it. And you mentioned a walking foot. So you're going to be using a walking foot for your quilting.
Yes, yes. It just helps it because it's so many layers. It just, I think, I look, and this is only just from what I've heard, it just helps all those layers get fed along together.
Yeah.
And then mine also
Totally.
has one of those little levers that you can set the distance so that you're keeping an even distance between each of your rows. So I've got a couple of the
Yeah.
little tools to help me.
Nice. And can I just ask out of interest, like, who are your best people? Do you have people that you go to who have, like, I don't know, videos or websites or things where you've got like tips that you would recommend in particular? Because this is one thing I will say, and I having sewn a lot of Helen's Closet patterns before, and now sewing with Cedar Quilt Co, who is from the same designer. Helen's Closet has incredibly detailed instructions every step of the way. That's one of the things that I like the most about their patterns. And this pattern, yes, like putting the piece, like the top of it together was really nice and detailed. And then I feel like it's like, okay, and then just make the quilt, which to me, I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, if you've never made a quilt before, that's to me where it gets tricky of like, how do you put this sandwich together? How do you pin it together? How do you make sure it goes through the machine evenly? So I personally, I wanted to share like my own references, but were there any resources that you found helpful or that you go to? Or do you just feel like you kind of already got that internal?
My main one that I've used in the past, and I often just save things into my Instagram, like I've got like a folder that's called, quilting tips. And so it could be any random ones that pop up, but people that are awesome. The main one that comes to mind is Suzy Quilts. She's such a great teacher. So she's on Instagram. She's got a website and everything. She does a lot of beginner kind of tips and is very approachable, very friendly kind of personality. Then came June, has a lot of tips as well. She's written a lot of patterns, very modern kind of quilting. I'm not sure, she's more about, I think she is someone with with a great library of modern quilts and sort of colour palettes and things to look at, but I'm not sure about the actual quilting process. I think, but Suzy Quilts would probably be my number one person. Also Jemima from Tied with a Ribbon, she's fantastic as well.
So we definitely make sure we link all these down in the description box. The one that I found really helpful that I've used, I never remember if she's handmade Emily Jane or homemade Emily Jane. I will find it. She has a YouTube
Yeah.
channel. She also has a really good website where there's like all different sections for basically how to make a quilt from beginning to end. But I really love her YouTube videos in particular. I find really helpful. I'm a visual, I like YouTube clearly. I'm a visual person, so I like to be able to see the process. And she has really great videos about like basting, but she's my go-to for doing the binding and getting like really nice corners and like making it all come together and look really beautiful. So I would definitely make sure that I link her binding video because that is the one that I've definitely used. Whoops, dropping things. The one that I've used and I will be using again. But yeah, I feel like this is the part now where it's getting real, which is exciting.
It's funny, like, because I felt like, yes, we're almost at the end, but now that we've talked through all these things we still have to do, there's still so much to do. And I'm glad we've given ourselves a month to do it because, yeah, there's a lot. And it's even getting those resources together, like getting the batting and, piecing the backing if you need to. And I'm going to have to make binding. Have you thought about binding yet?
Was that not part of the cutting out? I thought I cut out binding pieces.
Oh, maybe you might have. I haven't.
Hang on. Yeah, it was part of the checklist for cutting out. It's called binding. I wrote it on my washi tape.
So you've just used the same as you've used the same as your background fabric.
Yeah, I used the same as my background fabric. Yeah, it was 100% there, Sarah.
Not.
I'm looking at it. It was.
I usually use a different color though. I'm going to use something different. I haven't
To be
cut
honest,
it. I
that's
haven't cut mine.
fun. That's fun.
But it's funny because I was like, oh, I've got quite a bit of this background left, so maybe I bought enough of it to make the binding, but just didn't.
I'm sure you did.
I definitely have not cut the binding. Yeah.
Fine. What do you think you're gonna do then? Are you gonna use like one of the? Because you did buy some solids that match, or what are you thinking?
I've used most of the solids. So I'll probably just choose a colour that I think will work. And maybe because of that backing, it might be in the purple kind of family. I'm not sure.
Nice.
I don't know. Yeah.
No, but that's fun that you have like extra bits still to figure out and you get to see how it unfolds. But no, I know what you mean. There does feel like quite a lot. And I think you mentioned before that a lot of quilt alongs, they will talk you through like making the top and then it's like, okay, great. And now we've made a quilt. I was like, no. Like we need to do the whole quilting part. Like that's what it's about. You want it to be functional and on the bed.
Because otherwise it'll just live, just like I've got another one. It'll just live in a drawer somewhere or in a cupboard somewhere and, it'll be years before you think about it again.
Exactly. And I have to say, I have been loving, I know you have as well, seeing all the quilts coming together in the community. So people who have been sharing with us, some people are like all the way there. A lot of people are, keeping up with where we're meant to be, but the difference, like the choices, the contrast of colors, the way things play together and look so different. It has been so cool.
Yeah, I've loved the last week where people have started putting more people have started putting in their background fabrics because just like ours, it completely transforms the quilt. It looks so good. They look fantastic. So thank you so much for sharing them with us.
Absolutely. So we are going to be putting at the end of this video some images of the quilts from the community, all parts of the process that have been shared with us since our last video. So if you are interested in being in our final video, make sure you do tag us on Instagram or send us an email just to make sure that we can get those images because we really do want to share as many of them as possible. I know there are some people that I've seen that have mentioned that they're joining in, but we haven't seen anything and we want to see. I mean, totally fair enough. You do not have to if you're just making it for the joy of it for yourself, but it would be really fun to be able to see as many of your quilts as possible.
There was a special one that came through actually that someone wrote to me and it's completely a secret who it is because they wrote to me saying that theirs is a gift and they'd love to be able to share it with the sewing community, but they don't want the people who are following their account to see because her follower is going to be the recipient. And so that was a really special one.
Fair enough. That's so nice. What a lovely gift. I think a quilt is just a fantastic gift. It's a very big gift. And people better appreciate that kind of gift, but it's really lovely.
If you ever get that, you're lucky.
So you had the very fun idea, Sarah, of us sharing our pictures of our quilt tops and getting to see them on our call. So do you want to go first?
Okay.
All right. I'm excited. All right, so number one, and then you can tell me and everybody what we're looking at. Oh, Sarah, the way the light is hitting it as well. Oh my gosh, it's like a dream.
Okay, so this is the entire quilt laid out on my bed, and you can see it fits pretty nicely. I mean, mine's always going to be just a top layer over a doona and things like that anyway. Doona, that's what we call quilts here. But yeah, I'm really happy with it. I love the way the color goes from that green in the corner and then sort of moves through other colors. And yeah, I loved the way the light was playing on it when I took that photo as well. But you can see the rows are pretty well, the columns look pretty well in line, which they didn't, a few days before.
Perfect.
Yeah, happy.
I mean, obviously, I'm not like there with a magnifying glass, but no, they look absolutely perfect. I do love that grid effect that you get, the effect of it, and the colors. The way you've laid those pieces out to create that wash of color, it is stunning. It's so good.
I'm really happy I did it like that. Thank you. Look, and the others are just different angles. Right. So number 2 is just looking at it from a different angle. You see, so you can see just more of the blue in that one.
But I love that you can, that's what I was going to say. You can see the different colors more from different aspects. And I think that's so nice. Yeah. And it is a perfect size. Clearly I can see it's a really good size for the bed as well.
Yeah, you get the idea of how much overhang there is there. So that's a queen size bed. Exactly. And the quilt size is the second biggest, which I think is called just, I can't remember what it's called. Twin size, I think. I think it was called twin size.
Yeah, I think so. And then look, we can see the close-ups next. Oh, yeah. Those are so pretty. That's where you can see the detail. I love it. I love it because you can see the detail of those prints as well.
Yes. Yeah, so I'm really happy with how it turned out. And I think once I started putting the white in between, I just couldn't wait to just see the whole thing come together. And it's exactly how I would have hoped for.
These fabrics are, they're so magical. The way it's playing with the light is really bringing something out as well. But those prints together with I love that you've got those occasional solids there as well that kind of lift it a bit as well. It's perfect.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Thank you. So yeah, very happy. All right, should we look at yours?
Oh, look at mine. I will tell you what all the different pictures are. I feel like it kind of, I've created a story. This is in my mind. Okay. A story with these photos.
Ooh, you're teasing us.
I mean, obviously. It's just, I thought it looked so nice and neat and cute all together. And I know it's not going to look like that because it's going to be a lot more bulky. But that's just seeing, I felt like you can see how that sort of background fabric is helping to lift those colors up as well.
Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful. Oh my gosh. It looks beautiful, Teresa. I love it. Yes, exactly what you said before. Just the way it lightens up. So I'm looking at number 2 now, and the way just everything just looks bright and fresh.
That's the thing.
It's beautiful.
It really brings those colors out, and I love just how those colors play against each other as well. A lot of these I would not put these colors necessarily next to each other like in my mind, but I was trying to randomize them, and I think it created a really interesting effect overall.
Yeah. Definitely.
Right, number 3.
3. Wow. Oh, it's huge, isn't it? It looks amazing. It looks amazing. It actually in that one, it actually reminds me a bit of Licorice All Sorts. The different.
Oh, that's so fun. Yes. That's so funny.
The colors.
But what I will say, I
was just going to say, they look so beautiful together, and it's unexpected. It's like, I'm not someone who's thinks that they're very good at putting colors together. And I think that was one of the great things about using a jelly roll. And these ones I would never have put together, but they look so good together.
Exactly, to show the overall effect. And you can see the side. It hangs over the side to me as much as I feel like I need my quilt to go over the side. Because I share a bed with my husband, and the quilt can sometimes, blankets and things can shift. Yeah. We need enough so that if it shifts, we're still going to be covered. So the left and right to me was absolutely perfect, but this thing was enormously long. Now I will say, obviously, I've not pulled it up right to the top, and I would probably pull it up a bit higher when I'm in the bed, but it is extremely long.
Well, in that case also, you probably will see a bit of your backing because you might even have it folded over a little bit at the top. Yeah. To make it fit. So
if you look at number 4, you will see the overhang at the bottom.
Oh, wow. That's more than I was expecting.
It's not a little. And then possibly I could just have lost the last row.
Mm.
It's hard. Because I feel like if I lost the last row and I pulled it up a bit, I'd be slightly nervous I don't have enough hanging over. I almost want like a
Yeah.
little bit of that last row. I don't think I'm
Yeah, yeah.
changing it, but you see what I
No,
mean? Like
yeah.
it's a lot.
And when there's bodies underneath it, that will lift it up naturally as well.
True enough. True enough. That's the thing. So I don't want it to be
Yeah.
too short. But yeah, it's obviously ginormous.
Yeah.
And then number 5
Oh,
is
wow.
my favorite.
I love it. I
So
love it. Is that you?
that's me. Like,
Well
ta-da!
done.
Because I clearly cannot get this whole thing on my bed to be able to show you. This is my best way to be able to show you the whole quilt top. And of course, I was not going to argue with the backlit effect and made it look like stained glass. It was so
Yeah,
much
it looks
fun.
amazing.
I had to do it.
Oh, it looks beautiful. Now I want to do that too.
You 100% should. I recommend everyone.
Well, I have the chance
Steal this
before I have
idea.
it. Yeah, before I have it, before I have the backing and everything on it. It's my chance.
Exactly. And you can see those beautiful neat seams, all the work we do to make those lovely seams. You can really see it through there.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Oh, it looks amazing. Well done. What a mammoth effort.
And then
And one
number
more?
I know.
Oh.
Number 6. This is to me more just like how it's gonna look
Yeah.
in real life. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like kind of slightly crumpled on top of you. And to me that just makes it look like a delightful quilt to climb under. So I was just honestly like getting it off from when I was holding it and trying to reorganize it. And I was like, actually I love how this looks right here now. So I had to take the photo.
It does. It looks awesome. I love it. And I love that you love it as well.
Yeah.
And I love that we love our
I do.
quilts.
I know. I think it's going to be so worth all the efforts, definitely.
Yes.
It's been a process putting it all together, but it's been so great to be able to watch it all grow, and it feels like, we're now going to be getting to the point where we can celebrate it. So, yeah, I'm going to start working on that backing this week, getting it together, and then we'll see. Watch this space with the rest of the process.
Yeah, exactly.
Exciting.
Big job ahead.
So, I know, exactly. And the next video we're going to be doing will be over on Sarah's channel. So we've been alternating where our videos are being put out. And the next one will be the final reveal of our finished quilts, which I am dying to see. And I am dying to see all of your finished quilts too. So please do send them through to us. Tag us on Instagram. Use the hashtag, what is it now? Standing Tall QAL.
Yeah.
I've typed it like 100 times and I've... Hey, it's all good. It's all good. It'll be up on the screen. You guys look in the description box if you need to confirm where you're sharing these. Or like I said, feel free to email them if you're not on Instagram, or if you don't want to share them on Instagram, you can DM us individually or email us so we can get it somehow or other. Oh, well, thanks again, Sarah, for coming along onto my channel and for doing this quilt along with me. It has been so rewarding to be able to see other people's quilts. It has really made it such a joy.
My pleasure. It's been so fun doing it together. It's really kept me on track and excited to keep going and to share and to know other people will care.
Yeah. Oh, it's true though, isn't it? There's going to be a joined, like everyone's going to be excited, aren't we? Which is really nice.
Yeah.
Well, I will be back again soon, guys, with another video. Please do head over to Sarah's channel if you haven't seen the previous. Make sure you're subscribed to her so that you don't miss the next video in the series. And I will see you soon. Bye!
See ya!